I mean, I was actually kind of hoping this whole piece here would light up. Hey, what's up? John Shred here, and today we are going to unbox the highly controversial 4070 Ti. Stay tuned. Welcome back. If it's your first time here, I like to review new tech, and today we're going to talk about this Zotac 4070. I decided to go Zotac again. You may have seen my 4080 Trinity OC video, and I loved it. I really enjoyed the new design, and I mean, it's performing really well. Thank you for everyone for supporting that video. So I thought, why not? Let's check out a Zotac. It's at a great price point at $850 USD, and I'd like to figure out how well it compares to a 4080 and even a 4090. If you haven't checked out, I reviewed 5 or 6 4090s now and 3 or 4 4080s, but this is my first 4070 Ti, so I want to see how it stands up. Now, I'm not going to get into the fact that yes, this was the old 4080 12 gig model and they have renamed it. Everybody knows that by now. I mean, for now, I just want to better understand the price difference between the 4070 Ti and the 4080, and maybe does it perform well in games? Can you save yourself a few $100, get one of these, and still have a great card? So let's, this is the Trinity OC version. They do have the Trinity version. Same with the 4080. I ended up, it was just what I could find. So, but yeah, let's get this thing opened up and see. First thing I noticed is that the box is light. I mean, when you pick up, hold on, I have a 40. Oh gosh, here's a 4090 MSI Gaming Trio that I'll do next, and it's like, it feels heavy, and I know, yeah, it's a 4090, I get it, but even compare, I don't have a 4080 kicking around, but it just feels light. So I'm not sure if it's just they really changed the heatsink on it. Let's find out. Okay, come on. Okay. Cool. So identical. I have this little kind of thing. Same with the 4080. Let's open this up. Hopefully our top-down shot is doing well. Let's see what we have in the box here. Another GPU SAG device. Never used one, never had to. And three 8-pin power connectors. So I was curious whether it would be 2 8-pin or 3 with the 4070 Ti. So it's the same as the 4080, no surprise. But yeah, three 8-pin power connectors that can pull up to 450 watts. Okay, let me pull this guy out and get rid of the box. Okay, card. As I mentioned before with the 4080 Zotac, I really like they actually put it into a bubble wrap versus just a straight static bag. Kudos, just a nice little touch. Okay, it feels tiny. That's the first thing I will say. Let's see here. Zotac, let's see if I can do this well and then be like, yeah, cool. So, I mean, very similar design to the 4080 with what I call the new spaceship look. Yeah, so I mean, the 4080 around this, you know, the new connector here. They also had a button that you could change the BIOS. They do not have that with this card, so they removed that. And there was also a spot for an RGB connector. Long story short, it was hard to get to, so pretty useless. And the rest looks the same. Connectors, looks pretty normal. We'll get some B-roll after this. Yeah, they don't have the sticker on it. There used to be a sticker here that said make sure you use all three of the power connectors. But yeah, I mean, it feels small. It feels more manageable. This is what I imagine the new Radeon cards, the size to be. Definitely smaller than a 4080. Give me a second. Now that we have this, I do have a 4080 gigabit Eagle in my system right now. Let me grab it. I'm reviewing that one next, and then we can do a little bit of size comparison. Then we can pop it in my machine and see how well it fits there. I mean, if you can fit a 4080 or 4090, you'll be able to fit this guy. It's pretty reasonable in size. But yeah, let me grab that and then we can do a little bit of a size comparison. So give me a sec. Okay, I mean, here's a sneak preview of the Gigabit Eagle 4080. Let me get this guy out. Man, that Stanley 011DXL is a heavy case. Okay, here we go. So, I mean, just to kind of see, they are significantly, backwards. There we go. In size. Here, let me put the Zotac there and the Eagle here. Yeah, it has a solid, the Eagle has like a 2 inches on this card. From a height perspective, it's also here. Yeah, it is way taller. So interesting. So I mean, this Zotac Gaming 4070 Ti is very small. Small. This is 2023 we're talking here. So yeah, I mean, I'm gonna take this. We don't need this anymore. We grab the case again and we'll pop it in. We'll turn it on, see what's going on for lights, sound, and then, yeah, let's see what it looks like. Okay, that's in. I mean, lots of room on this side. Let's give it some power. By the way, if you are curious, this cable that I'm using right here, this is the new Corsair 600 watt cable that connects to 2 8-pin connectors on my Corsair RM1000X. So I've been using it consistently for all 4000 series cards, and it is wonderful. It bends well. You can still get the case on. It's really, really nice. So here, let me grab some power. We can boot this guy up. So I mean, it's as I expected. Some lights here. I was actually kind of hoping this whole piece here would light up, but not the case. The fans themselves have no RGB. I wonder if we can do a tilty tilt here. What? Yeah. It's okay. And before I get 1,000 comments, yes, this radiator and fan, they're not connected. They're in there with this distro plate. I'll eventually do a water cooling build, so yeah, don't worry about that. But cool. Okay, I mean, it's in now. Let me, connect it up, get everything installed, make sure my drivers are good. I'll run some benchmarks against it, and I'll come back and we'll see how it compares to a 4080. So, we'll see if this Zotac is worth saving a few bucks. All right, see you in a bit. And we are back. Now, if you're enjoying this video, please leave me a thumbs up. It helps big time. So when I started this video, I was slightly disappointed in the weight and size of this card. It's much smaller, and interesting enough that everyone's complaining about 4080s, 4090s getting bigger, bulkier, way too heavy. Yet when it gets smaller, I was kind of like, meh, meh. But putting that aside, I forgot to mention, the 4070 Ti is supposed to be a 3090 Ti killer. Now, if you've been watching my channel for a little while, you know that my EVGA for the Win 3 3090 Ti is by far my most favorite GPU I have ever owned. I own 2 of them. I have now since sold them, but they are still my favorite card of all time. So the real question is, does this 4070 Ti compare, considering it's much, much cheaper? Well, here, let's look when it comes at the numbers at the gaming benchmarks now. So as you can see, it is very close to the 3090 Ti, if not beating it sometimes, in all the gaming benchmarks. Now, is it slower than a 4080? Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. Now, as you know, I'm more about the feel and how it is inside the game versus all the exact numbers. And to me, playing Warzone 2, this card was great. It still ran at an average of about 100 frames per second at 1440p. So, but the other big difference between a 4070 Ti and a 3090 Ti is the fact that the 3090 Ti has 24 gigs of GDDR6X RAM. Now, this guy here only has 12 gigs of, wait a second, is it GDDR6X? Yeah, okay, yeah, of GDDR6X RAM. That's half the amount of RAM. Now, does it make a difference? Most of the time, people requiring 24 gigs of VRAM are in workstation applications. So I figured might as well compare it to workstation applications such as Blender or Premiere Pro. If you haven't seen my video where I compared a 3080 to a 3090 Ti in those workstation specific applications, you can check that video out here. So let's try it again for the 4070 Ti. Now, first thing I tried was Premiere Pro. And I used one of my old videos, and I'm scrubbing through the timeline. As you can see here, the VRAM wasn't going over 6 or 7 gigs at any time. Now, my videos aren't my timelines aren't crazy, complicated. I am working with full 4K footage at all times, but to me, I didn't notice any difference. Now, render time, did it make any difference? No, not at all. It was still just, and most of the time rendering is more on the CPU than the GPU anyway. All right, what about Blender? So I use the Blender benchmark tool and I compare the results. Here, I'll post them up on the screen. So here's the side-by-side of the 4070 Ti Blender results and the 3090 Ti render results. As you can see in every test, the 4070 Ti outperformed it. Considering that even a used 3090 Ti is still going for $1,200 to $1,500 USD, that's a big price difference. But please leave a comment down below if you are a workstation user that requires 24 gigs of RAM. I would love to hear your story. Okay, now the cost of this card is where things get interesting. With this card here, I purchased for $850 USD. They have since dropped the price to $829 USD. Now, I'm gonna use this as the base price as a 4070 Ti because NVIDIA hasn't released a Founders Edition card yet. Word on the street is because they rebranded the 4080 12 gig to the 4070 Ti, they didn't have time to change it and the design and look, but they will be releasing it. I assume a similar price point to the Zotac card, if not maybe $50 cheaper. But if we're talking $850 for this 4070 Ti versus a 4080 FE at $1,200 USD, right? That's a 41% price increase. And as you can see, I mean, from the gaming results, the 4080 is only 15 to 25, 30% faster. So you're gonna pay the extra 41%? Now, when it came to overclocking for this card, I was definitely disappointed. I mean, it didn't overclock as well as the 4080 or 4090 with only a 3% boost. I mean, I would say use this card as is. If you are looking for a card that overclocks well, go to the 4080 series. Of even the 4080 or 4090s, the 4080 had the most overclocking potential. The overclock settings I used, I ended up getting plus 100 on the core, bringing it up to 2,895 megahertz, which is still about 100 megahertz short of that 3,000 megahertz limit that most newer cards are hitting. And then on the VRAM, I was able to do plus 1,400 megahertz, bringing it up to 11,900 megahertz. Now, most other cards, I was able to get it up into the 12,900 range. So as I said, you couldn't push it as much as you like. And maybe that was just this card. So please, if you are able to overclock your 4070 Ti more, please leave the settings down below. I'd love to hear about it. When it comes to thermals, I mean, this is the first 4000 series card that didn't have phenomenal thermals. Now, I mean, it wasn't bad, but even on my Heaven benchmark, which the 4080s, 4090s were sitting around low 60s. This was up at high 60s with VRAM peaking a little bit higher. As I went into other tests such as Speedway, we did get values of the VRAM poking up into the high 70s. I mean, it's not the end of the world. This card, I mean, the thermal limit on the core is 88 degrees Celsius, so it's sitting even in the 70s range, no big deal. And then GDDR6 RAM, the thermal limit's 110 degrees Celsius, so being in the high 70s, even if it crept into the 80s, totally okay. What I did notice with this card is the longer I used it, it seemed like the hotter it got. So, I mean, if you're doing a really long gaming session, 2-3 hours, there's a chance this card will continue to get warm and the fans will just, increase and get louder. But are you worried? Am I worried about it, overheating? Nah, I'm sure it's fine. With lighting, there isn't much to talk about. As you saw, this lights up kind of right here. It's identical to the Big Brother 4080. All the lights are convertible from the Firestorm software. Yeah, I mean, not my favorite of lighting, situations, but it's not bad. To conclude, hands down, this card, the 4070 Ti, is a great card in 2023 for all gaming applications. Price point, I feel, is great for all 1440p resolution. The form factor is nice and small. I mean, it's light. If you have a smaller case and you wanted to get it in there, awesome. And the Zotac has the new, the spaceship design. I mean, overall, this is a solid card. I know everyone's talking junk about the 4070 Ti's when they came out, and there was huge negative press about it. But I will be the first to say that this is a really good card. Now, are you in the market for a 4080 but still find it a bit too expensive? Why not save $450, get just under the performance of a 4080, smaller, fitted in your case? I mean, you let me know if now that these are out, this may be the card for you. And then lastly, if you're looking for a 3090 Ti, possibly for your workstation, Could this 4070 Ti do the trick for almost half the price and still get the performance? As always, please subscribe. Thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned for the next one.